could you be so cruel to me?
We really weren't trying to hurt you, Stephanie. You see, it's just business.
A continuity is one of the most important elements in a successful wrestling storyline. And for those not aware, continuity relates to when previous rivalries or character traits are referenced in future storylines.
You don't want to know what I say tonight? Vince screwed Vince!
There have been times where WWE have relied on continuity to further their storylines. For instance, when CM Punk and Randy Orton feuded in 2011, the whole feud was built around an incident way back in 2008. More recently, Edge and Seth Rollins have built their storylines around the fact that Rollins tried to severely injure Edge back in 2014. These moments of continuity from WWE are unfortunately rare, as WWE is often criticized for abandoning continuity and virtually forgetting that continuity exists in the world of professional wrestling. But which times were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 8 major continuity errors in WWE. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists.
She's here.
Number 8. Alistair Blacks' eye is mysteriously healed. One of the top feuds in the summer of 2020 was the feud between Seth Rollins and Alistair Black. During the feud, Rollins' protege Buddy Murphy seriously injured Black's eye by driving it through the steel steps.
The Rey Mysterios! Oh, God! Oh, God, the Rey! Stop!
This led to Black turning heel for the first time in his WWE career, but shortly after the heel turn, he would be taken off television for a total of 6 months. To promote his eventual return, WWE would air vignettes which would promote Black's new character. However, there was something unusual about his appearance. The vignette promoting Black's return featured Black with a completely healed eye, and it appeared as if WWE had completely forgotten that Black was supposed to have a damaged eye in the first place. This annoyed a lot of fans, as they felt this element of continuity should have been stuck to, and it was simply pure laziness on the part of WWE. Now, they clearly realized how big of a continuity error this was, as when Black eventually made his return to SmackDown, the eye appeared to be damaged once again. Number 7. AJ Styles is alive and well? AJ Styles and The Undertaker collided in a Boneyard match at WrestleMania 36 in the main event of Night 1 of the pay-per-view. The match itself was presented as a cinematic match and received widespread acclaim from fans and critics who praised the efforts of WWE, AJ and The Undertaker to create a unique spectacle for fans. The match is well established for being the last ever match for The Undertaker, who would hang up his boots following the match, ending his illustrious career. But additionally, there was a huge continuity error which followed after the match and related to how AJ survived seemingly being buried alive in a mountain of dirt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I got buried. So what?
AJ would return to television a number of weeks after the Boneyard encounter. However, there would be no explanation offered as to how he survived. AJ would actually be asked how he survived during an appearance on The Bump, and he revealed,
What do you mean how I made it back to Raw? I mean, I drove to Raw, I got there, I was ready to fight. I mean, it's pretty simple, guys. You want to hear me say I dug myself out of the grave and you know, it's not even, I'm a zombie, really. It's not even, I'm not a ghost, I'm a zombie. Is that what you wanted to hear? No, man. If there's an opportunity, I'm going to take advantage of it, all right? Apollo Crews got hurt. I took advantage of the situation. It's that simple.
Now, although this doesn't explain the massive gap in continuity, it was certainly appreciated that AJ didn't shy away from the rather difficult question. Number 6. Retribution destroy the ring, then the ring appears undamaged on 205 Live. On the August 7th, 2020 edition of SmackDown, the stable known as Retribution destroyed the entire ringside area. They would graffiti the ring skirts and even took a chainsaw to the ring ropes. The segment was effective, but that was until 205 Live aired following SmackDown. 205 was supposed to take place immediately after SmackDown, however when 205 came on the air, the ring was completely fine and there was no sign of damage from the attack, which happened just minutes prior. Even worse was the fact that the SmackDown segment featured members of Retribution attacking members of the crowd. However, when 205 Live came on the air, these same crowd members were in the crowd without showing any signs of damage. It was simply a case of WWE not having the foresight to realize how 205 Live could impact the integrity of the storyline. Number 5, The Miz gets eaten by zombies. The WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view was sponsored by the Netflix movie Army of the Dead, and in rather a bizarre move, as part of this sponsorship deal in the Damian Priest vs The Miz Lumberjack match, zombies would act as the Lumberjacks. Now this was a rather unusual and, well, interesting creative decision from WWE, and it was ultimately criticized by fans as well as Batista, who was one of the lead actors in the movie itself. Following the match, WWE would decide to have the zombies eat The Miz in the ring, seemingly ending him off, or at least turning The Miz into a zombie. But when The Miz appeared next on Raw, he showed no lasting damage from the actual zombie attack.
You're the most courageous WWE superstar on the roster for coming out here at all tonight in your condition.
The Miz would be in a wheelchair, but this was because he suffered an ACL tear in the match itself, but it wasn't related to the supposed zombie attack. Number 4, Rey Mysterio's eye. The Extreme Rules pay-per-view in 2020 featured a WWE first. It featured a literal eye for an eye match between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio. To win the match, a superstar had to extract his opponent's eye. Now this was a rather controversial and risque match type for the PG era. It was a match type that had never been done before and hasn't been done since. Well, thankfully. The match of the finish came when Rollins pierced Mysterio's eyes on the ring steps, which resulted in Mysterio's eyeball popping out in disgusting fashion. This led to Rollins vomiting at ringside as medical personnel attended to Mysterio. At first, they maintained kayfabe for Mysterio's eye injury, as his mask would have one eye blacked out, which represented the missing eye. However, in recent months, Mysterio has simply reverted back to his original mask, which clearly shows he has two, well, functioning eyes. They've either forgotten about the storyline completely, or they simply wanted Mysterio to revert back to his original mask and hope that fans wouldn't notice. Number 3, Roman Reigns' car shows no sign of damage.
Here he is. Wait, Roman, watch out, watch out! Ah! Oh my god! We need help! We need help over here, someone get this off of him!
In the summer of 2019, WWE began a storyline which involved a mystery attacker trying to take out Roman Reigns. Now, although the payoff to the storyline was downright terrible, it did feature some memorable moments. One of these took place on the August 5th, 2019 edition of Raw, as Samoa Joe would confront Reigns in the parking lot when all of a sudden a car appeared out of nowhere and attempted to run down Reigns as he was getting out of his vehicle. Luckily, Reigns jumped into his own vehicle at the last second. However, the car still went into the side of Reigns' car, which should have left lasting damage. But following the segment, WWE went to a commercial break, and when they came back on air, there appeared to be no damage on Reigns' vehicle whatsoever. Fans quickly noticed this and naturally called out WWE for this major continuity error, which could have been easily avoided. Number 2, Kane's eye. There's always been a lot of mystery surrounding Kane's character and backstory. One thing that has never made sense in relation to his appearance is what exactly happened to his eye. If you recall, when Kane initially debuted, it was stated that Kane was missing an eye and that he had a prosthetic one in place.
Look at his eye, Undertaker! He's missing an eye, and it's your fault!
However, when Kane reverted to the infamous corporate Kane character in 2013, his eye appeared to be magically healed. In fact, it appeared as if Kane was an ordinary human being with no physical or mental ailments. Fast forward to 2015 and Kane was once again behind the mask, and his eye had suddenly been damaged once again. This was never explained to fans in any capacity, and fans had to blatantly ignore the massive continuity error from WWE. And number 1, Randy Orton's burns. One of the most talked about moments during the feud between Randy Orton and The Fiend was when Alexa Bliss threw a fireball in the face of Orton on Raw. This was a moment that nobody saw coming, and it certainly pushed the boundaries of what a PG product would allow. The week following the fireball incident, Orton would appear in a backstage segment on Raw and he would have a mask to cover up the severe burns, which looked incredibly painful, and it looked as if there would be lasting damage on the former WWE champion. However, when Orton appeared at the 2021 Royal Rumble 2 weeks later, his burns had magically healed. In fact, there was no sign of damage whatsoever. It was as if the segment never took place. But there you have it, folks, 8 major continuity errors in WWE. Are there any more? Should we do a part 2? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.